Good evening. Welcome to the latest live edition of Last Bell Boxing. It's finally here. The big fight week. Wood versus Conlan. Let's get into it. Joined by regulars, Ander. Evening, Ander.
Evening, mate.
And Chris. Good evening, Christopher.
Good evening. How you doing? I've got my WBA belt there in honour of Lee Wood for you.
Jolly good. It remains with you thinking Wood's going to win, but I suspect not. But we'll come on to that. So, obviously, we're very keen for people to join us tonight to give their views. We've had a lot of toing and throwing on Twitter with some Conlan fans, all good banter, all respectful. I'll post the link in the chat bar. We're going to freestyle it a little bit tonight, lads, aren't we? And just talk about the main event and a little bit about Conor Benn and such like. But the main topic of tonight is Wood Conlan. What's your thoughts? So while we wait for people to join, Ander, we'll jump to you first. Give us a bit of background and how you think this one's going to go.
It's a very interesting card, actually. Looking through the list, there's a nice mixture of Irish and English fights, which I think is great for the crowd, especially with the Irish that are coming over. Reported anywhere between 1,000 and 2,000 tickets sold for Conlan fans. So there's a nice mixture of some Irish fighters on this bill. I'm quite happy if you want to quickly run through it.
Yeah, why not?
For people to pop on. So first up, I think this is the way it might run. But don't quote me on it. So first up, we've got a debutant from England, an amateur fights. His name is Nico Levas. He's based in Mansfield. He's fighting Jose Hernandez, who's got a lot of experience, near on 50 fights. A lot of them he's lost, to be fair, but even so, there's a lot of experience there for a debutant to be facing. Quite surprising at this fight. Eddie Hearn must be thinking this kid's got some talent to be putting him in against someone with some experience like that.
Yeah. There's a couple on the card like that, isn't there? You've got this one, which is shaking up for a nice fight, and I think it's a nice turn by Eddie, because what he'll do, he'll let the public, and it's going to be a big audience, actually see what this kid's got.
Yeah.
Well, they reckon he's shifted a lot of tickets, Chris. They reckon he's shifted a fair few.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a nice mix about Saturday night, isn't it? We do have a number of ticket sellers, and Wood himself said he could have sold his allocation 4 times over, if not more. So, we've got lots of ticket sellers there. The atmosphere should be good, and, it should be enough to keep the crowd there all night watching the boxing, which is what will make a great atmosphere. But now this one's intriguing, actually. Hernandez is 4-38-1, as Andy says. That's a lot of experience here to be going in on your debut. Now, while he is someone who, obviously loses the majority, if not nearly all of his fights, he doesn't get stopped very often. He tests the guys. So, it's one of these which will be a real educational fight for the guy.
There's still a lot of ring craft there, isn't there? I know, like you said, I know there's defeats, but there's ring craft. Good learning fight.
Yeah, journeymen have got to work, haven't they? You know what I mean? And they're the ones, when you see the little feints which they do, and they make the guys think. Their defensive work's excellent usually. So while they don't necessarily go on offense a lot, they'll certainly make our guy work. So I think it's a really good debut for him. So interested to see him.
First Irish fighter of the night, Thomas Carthy, who's currently 2-0.
Yeah,
he's going in against another fighter, not a big amount on his record. Michael Bolos. Too sure where Michael Bolos is from. Do you know, Chris?
No, I've not got. It's a heavyweight fight, this one, but I've not got where he's from.
I like the look of Thomas Carter. I like the look of him. He's a very confident individual. I believe he's managed by Dillian White, isn't it? So I like the look of him. Like I say, he's got a bit of a swagger about him, and he fancies the job. So he said himself that he wouldn't be in boxing unless he thought he could go to the top. So I like when I hear that. That's very confident. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to this fight.
Yeah. That'll be a good one. A good one. You would expect him to win in this one.
Next
No, I was just saying you'd expect him to win the fight, with the guy that they've put him in with, and one would expect a stoppage victory for Carty.
So Bolos is from Poland. Bolos is from Poland, by the way. I think you've got a bit of a delay, Andy. It might be that hotel Wi-Fi you've got.
Definitely is.
Just that, guys.
No worries.
Thomas Whittaker.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Thomas Whittaker.
Yeah,
English
so another one. Another one who's only had a handful of fights. Again, very confident. I agree with Chris. I think the blender fights on this card is quite refreshing because obviously he's in again with a very experienced operator. So again, we'll see what he's got.
Yeah.
But I expect Whittaker Art to come through, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I would say so. I think Ben Thomas is a decent guy. 2-14-3 is his record. At light heavy, this one, 12 stone 7 guys can bang. So,
yeah.
I think this is one where I do expect him to probably get a stoppage win here. But I think it'll be an interesting one to see him out.
Okay.
So we move on to the next one, Sandy Ryan.
Next on the card, Sandy Ryan from Derby, which is again interesting with the Derby Nottingham mix. She's in against Erica Faraz, who has quite a lot of experience again. This is only Sandy's fourth fight. Obviously 3-0. She's looked really good. She's 26-5. So again, a lot of experience in there. This is likely to be. It's definitely a step up for Sandy, and likely to be one of those.
Eric is a former 2-weight world champion, so she's in with some serious talent here. Yeah. And Eddie Hearn's got on record as saying, if she wants to win this fight, Sandy Ryan, the only place she's going is world level. There's no turning back.
Yeah.
So they've moved her really, really quickly. Yeah. Sandy Ryan looks bang up for it, but I think this could be a banana skin, this fight.
It's an interesting one, isn't it? Because when you look at the girl, she's actually rated second in the world. And as you say, when you look through who's actually defeated her, it was Delphine Pursoon, it was Cecilia Brakes, Jessica McCaskill, and Michaela Meyer. So all world level fighters who've beat her. So it shows the confidence which they've got in Sandy Ryan. So I think the fight's been made at super lightweight, which is like welter for us old boys. So 140. So Sandy Ryan's got to lose a little bit of weight to come down because she's not been at that weight before. She's been around 144. But probably it's a really interesting fight because Friars has been inactive, hasn't she? She's only fought once in 2021. Other than that, she's only had a handful of fights since 2017, 2018. So it could be some excellent matchmaking here. But what a name it is, and it just shows the pedigree and the belief they've got in Sandy Ryan to throw around with this girl.
Well, by all accounts, it was Sandy Ryan that was pushing for this fight, wasn't it? She didn't want no more learning fights or takeover fights. So you got to give her props, haven't you? Because to jump in with someone of Erica's class after 3 fights, you're definitely going to get a test.
Yeah.
Good evening. How you going, Sean?
Yeah, hello guys. How you all doing?
Yeah, all good. So, do you want to jump in with your thoughts on Sandy Ryan's fight?
Yeah, I think it's a really good test for her. As you guys were saying, it's sort of hand-picked opponent. I'm interested to see how fast they move her because she can't be too far for a world title, really, I don't think.
Yeah. I think this is the one. If this had been made, if Sandy Ryan had about 3 or 4 more fights and this had been made for world title, no one would have complained at all. It is. I think it's a stronger fight than, no disrespect to than Tash Jonas had a few weeks back. With Tash, we didn't know about the weight element, but the opponent was probably handmade for her. This one, as you say, Carol, could be a potential banana skin for her.
Yep. And we're joined by Ben. Good evening, Ben.
What's up?
How are you?
Yeah, good, mate. See you.
Yeah, good. So timing's everything, Ben. So we'll let you jump in. What are your thoughts on Sandy Ryan jumping in with a fighter of this caliber so early?
Well, she's got the experience in the amateurs, so I think that'll stand her in good stead. And a lot of women are moving fast now, aren't they? So see how she gets on, yeah.
Do you think she wins?
Yeah, I think she'll come through, yeah, definitely. It might be a tough test for her, but I think she'll just get through it, yeah.
Fair enough.
I think for the women, a lot of the time, like we do wonder whether or not they can actually box, and the opponents, we're never sure what we're getting. But we all know Delphine Pursoon for when she fought Katie Taylor, and when Friars fought Delphine Pursoon, it was quite a close fight. Like the scores actually didn't show how close the fight was. Friars actually lost 2 points for use of the head. If that hadn't have been the case, then she would have actually only lost the fight by a round. So Pursoon is a real tough operator. So, as you say, Carol, potential banana skin. But if she wins this one, the world is waiting for her now.
The one thing I would say about female boxing, they're not frightened to jump in at any stage of their career, are they? A lot of male boxers, I won't name names, could do with jumping in with live opponents a bit earlier as well. So maybe take a leaf out of their book.
Yeah.
Guys, this is also a 10-round fight. Sandy Ryan's not fought 10 rounds, anywhere near 10 rounds so far.
No.
So it's not only going to test a quality, it's also going to test a stamina, fitness.
Yeah.
This is a real gut check, this fight.
Yeah.
And by all accounts, Eric is a come-forward fighter, a pressure fighter, so she's not going to give her a rest any second of any round. So that'll be interesting to watch as well.
Yeah. And I think with that, she can be outboxed, because I've seen her against Cecilia Brækhus, who I'm a big fan of. And, she was picked off by Brækhus, who's not necessarily the quickest, but a 10-round fight at this stage in your career, you can't beat it, really. Kudos to her.
Erica Ferraz might suit Sandy Ryan down to the ground, because just going into the sidebar for a sec, Matt Nash has put a lot of Sandy Ryan. She seems quite spiteful and confident. She's very spiteful. She sits down on her shots. This might be perfect for her.
Yeah, but on the flip side of that, how many opponents have come over to these shores and beat our female fighters recently?
Yeah. I think the difference in this one, as I say, I think, she had 2 back-to-back losses to McCaskill in 2018, 2019.
There's no shame in that, though, is it, Chris?
Absolutely not. But I think it's maybe just that inactive there. But she's a bigger fighter. She has fought as high as 144 pounds as well. So, again, she might carry the weight a little bit better than Sandy Ryan. We don't know, But to all intents, she is a smaller fighter than Sandy Ryan. But I just think it's a great bit of matchmaking. And I think if it was a title fight, we would all be getting excited for it.
It will only be a good piece of matchmaking if she wins, though, Christopher.
Very true. But it shows the confidence in Sandy Ryan, doesn't it? And that's what we like to see.
So next up on the bill, we've got Gary Cully, currently Irish fighter, currently 13-0. He's going in against Miguel Vasquez, who's 44-10. So this is another. Yeah, he's lost. He's not scared to come over to the UK. He's fought Ritz O'Hara Davis, and he's fought. So he's been with some great company. So it's not like he's walking into. He don't know the crowd, and he don't know the atmosphere he's going to be getting, because he's had it a few times already. Again, this is going to be a gut check.
Yeah, well, I don't think Vasquez is going to be aiming to leave it to the judges this time. I think he's going to come to knock Cully out. So I think this is going to be an absolute barnstormer, I do. That's my prediction.
I agree.
I think they're both going to be swinging for the lights.
Yeah. Vasquez is busy, isn't he? One of the big things about him, while he's not had a great deal of knockouts, he's had 44 wins, 10 losses, 17 KOs, but he's pressure fighter, and he comes forward. He's a typical Mexican style. And I think, when we seen him getting beat by Josh Taylor, what was that, back 2017? I thought that's the last we'll ever see of him again, but then he's bounced back against Ritson, and, he won that fight so handily against Ritson. It was an appalling decision. One could say even worse than the Josh Taylor decision, but, to see him coming back and actually, fighting over here again, yeah, he's obviously a favourite of the zone and a favourite of Eddie Hearn. They tend to use fighters when they know they'll get rounds from them, don't they? So yeah. I think Cully's a really decent guy, actually, as well. I quite like him as a person. So, I can actually see that being, as you say, an all-action fight. And, you know, I'd expect it to go to points because neither of them are big bangers. I think Cully's only stopped 7 and 13, so you know it should be a really good 10-round fight, that one.
Sean, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, like you said, I think it'd be a good fight. I mean, I think this is sort of an acid test for Cully, really. I think we'll truly see how far he'll go potentially in this fight.
Ben?
I haven't seen a lot of Cully, to be honest, but I think he's had, 12, 13 fights, and to step up against Vasquez is a big step, but it's whether Vasquez has still got it anymore. He's aging a bit now, and it's one of them fights where it's like a crossroads fight, isn't it?
Definitely.
But he's still an ex-champion, and that's, you know, that means a lot. He was a long-time champion, you know, he was about 4 years as champion, so, you know, the experience that this guy will bring, and, you know, he'll teach him so much.
Father time, though, Christopher, father time.
Catches up with us all.
Okay, next up, lad. We've got a first fight for a belt of the night. WBA middleweight title. Kirmin Agjarko, 10-0 from Ireland, fighting one who's 18-1. This is going to be a real fight. You know, this could fight of the night. It's going to be fantastic. I've got a lot of time for Agjarko. He looked great last time out.
Very active. He's only out in December, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was out in the Conor Benn show in Liverpool, put on a really good performance. He looked really ripped on the scales that night as well, you know, the day before, should I say, and, you know, won with a good 9th-round knockout, really solid performance. The guy he's fighting, actually, he's no mug either, you know, 18-1. He was knocked out in his last fight. You know, he fought a guy called Charles Conwell, who's a bit of a banger, and, you know, he's quite a nice little talent, actually, Conwell. So, you know, to actually do that fight and come back into this one, yeah, the Mexican's obviously got some belief in himself. So I think, as Andy says, it'll be a good fight, this one. I expect it to be a shootout.
I don't think we know how good Agjarko is yet, do we?
No.
We don't know how good he is, to be honest. He looks apart. You know, he's beating people for fun at this level. But we just don't know how good he is. What do you think, Ben?
I think he's looking good. He looks solid as well at middleweight. He looks massive. And the way he punches, he's got the power, but he's got the skills as well. So I think he's going to go far, me, to be honest with you. And I think this guy coming over, it's going to be one of them. It's 50-50 in it. But if Jago can step it up that next level, he can show us what he's about, can't he?
Yeah.
Sean?
Yeah, I really rate Creven. I think he's a great fighter. I think it's about time he got picked up by one of the big promoters, because if he didn't, it would have been a travesty, really. But I think he'll go on all the way. I really do. Having seen him in the amateurs as well, I think he's going to be a top star.
Interesting. So I think we're all going for Agjarko win there, aren't we?
Yeah, definitely.
Right, Andy, let's take us to the main event then.
Just one more call before we do.
I'm eager.
Just one more on the bill before we do, Cole. Terry Harper.
Yeah, of course.
She makes a step up, first fight at lightweight. She's fighting for the vacant WBA international lightweight belt against Yamila Abelinda, I think it's pronounced.
Good effort.
Something along them lines. Tough fight this for a first fight at this weight, but she looks great. She looks really strong.
Yeah, I'm not sure about Terry Harper at this weight. I'm not sure how far she goes, to be honest with you.
I heard an interesting article with her. She was talking on the new Matchroom podcast. I don't know if anybody's listened to that, where she was talking about just the struggle it was to get down to super featherweight. And, you know, it's one of these things that as men, we don't really understand. But she was saying it was affecting her body so much. It affected her menstrual cycle. She was coming out of training. She was tired. So she says she's not feeling that way now. So it'll be interesting to see if she is rejuvenated with the extra poundage. You know, it's not a lot, but, you know, it'll be interesting to see. I think with Harper, she's a confidence fighter, isn't she, really? I mean, her and Steffi Buller on top, you know, they put in really decent performances. So I think it's a really good opponent. Will wanted to see her against the American. She was meant to be fighting the girl that broke her hand. I can't remember her name off the top of my head again. But,
Everard it was, Chris.
Was she not meant to be fighting the Heather Hardy? Sorry, yeah, Heather Hardy. Yeah. So, and she fell down and injured her hands. But I actually think this is a decent fight. The girl's the Argentinian champion at lightweight. Really solid performer. So we'll see what Terry's like at the new weight.
She doesn't bang though, does she, Chris?
The opponent, no, she's 13 wins, 4 defeats, but only 3 KOs. So, yeah. But maybe that's what Terry Harper needs, because we all seen how she reacted when she got hit by Baumgartner, and like that knockout was kind of chilling, the way that she just stopped in her tracks and stood there, wasn't it? So she really needs to have someone that maybe isn't a puncher to get that confidence back.
In the sidebar, Joey's just took the words out of my mouth. So he said all fighters say the weight was a problem when they lose.
I see where he's coming from there, Carl, but what I will say is you could tell Terry Harper wasn't right. She didn't look right. She didn't look right on the walk-in. She didn't look right in the ring. She had nothing. Nothing there. She was a shell.
Yeah. I agree with you, Andy. There was no resistance there, was there? And she just looked flat and jaded from where she had been before. And like, we're not saying that she's like elite pound for pound in the top 10 of the world for women as yet, but she was beginning to make some noises, and it just didn't look like she was actually even tuned into the fight at points.
What do you think, Sean?
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how she gets on at this weight. I mean, it was a bad knockout she's coming off, so in a way, I'm a bit gutted that the Hardy fight's not happening, because I thought that would have been a really good fight. But yeah, I think this may be better for her in a way to ease her back, and then maybe make the Hardy fight in a couple of months or something.
Yeah. I think the Hardy fight was a name fight, wasn't it? I think after Heather Hardy got beat by Amanda Serrano, I think she was kind of coming over, I felt, for a payday. I thought it might have been an easy fight. Not necessarily easy fight, that's the wrong word, but a fight which was kind of tailor-made for Terry Harper to come back. But, hopefully we'll see it later on, Sean, because it'd be quite decent to see Heather Hardy over in the UK. She's got quite a fan base.
A quick good evening to our friend Mike Wall from Canada. Good of you to join us, Mike. Jump on the screen.
We've just been joined by Niall, which is great timing, Niall. We're just about to go on the wood fight, fella, so you timed it absolutely perfect there.
Sorry, lad, you're at the flying shooter.
Say again.
You flew through the card there. I was doing other things. I had you on play, like on the side. I had to do a few things, but yeah, geez, you flew through that card.
Well, what fights would you want to touch on now? Give us your view. Thomas Carter, great fight.
Yeah, but he's not really up against much. Hold on a second, lads. I'm trying to get. I had box rec and the card up there for a second on my phone.
No,
hold on. That's done. No, just carry on, lads. Sorry.
All right, no bother. And back to you.
Okay, so we can touch back on a few more in a little while if you want to, mate. But we'll go straight into the Conlan debate. And seeing as though you just jumped on, mate, we'll go with you straight away. We touched on this last time you popped on the show, but give us a breakdown of how you think the fight goes.
Judging by the way I'm looking at them today and yesterday, it seems like I don't know whether it's just the way Lee Wood is. It doesn't seem like he's bothered. Conlan seems right up for it. He looks like he's buzzing. He looks like he's hungry. He wants that belt. To be honest with you, lads, I think he's just too skillful. I don't think Lee Wood's going to beat him. I think he's too skillful. I don't think Lee Wood's going to get close to him today. And when he does, he's going to get hit instead. That's the honest opinion, lads. I can't see it any other way.
Ben, do you want to give your view as a neutral, being not from Ireland or Nottingham, and then we'll go to Sean?
I was changing my mind a few times, but I agree with what he's just said. To be honest, I think Michael Conlan, I think he's got a look about him where he doesn't want to be denied, and he's got the amateur pedigree, the footwork and things like that. And I think it'll just play in his favour, being the away fighter. And I just think he's going to nick it on points, if I'm honest.
Interesting. Sean?
Yeah, I think Conlin's going to win. As I said to you boys last week, I just think he outboxes him. I think as well, which is an interesting subplot, is how Adam Booth and Ben Davison match up. Because I guess in a way, Ben Davison is sort of the newer version of Adam Booth, I suppose you could say. So it's interesting to see how they both match up tactically against each other. That's one of the subplots I'm looking forward to.
And
I think I need to bring some sanity to the show. Come on, lads. Firstly, just going back on what Niall just said about he thinks Lee Wood, he looks like Lee Wood ain't bothered. That's just how he is, Niall. He's such a laid back guy. He's always been that way. You're not going to change how he is, and that works in his favour because it means he doesn't get overexcited, do things he shouldn't be doing. He sticks to the game plan. The game plan for the Kanzu fight, for example, was punch perfect. And if it had gone any other way away from the game plan, it might not have been the same result. But because he's so laid back and because he listens and takes in everything Ben Davison tells him as a coach leading up to a fight, it stands him in good stead later on in the fight when things get a bit tough. Because there's no doubt about it. Conlan's a great fighter. He's got a lot of skill. And Wood's going to have to dig in this fight. But I mentioned it before. Conlan's for the first 6 rounds. And he'll probably box Lee's head off for those first 6 rounds. But he lulls. He has done in all of his fights I've seen so far. He has a patch where he lulls and he can't keep the same tempo, the same slick skill set. And that's where Lee will take over. In my opinion, Lee stops him in the 11th.
No, do you want to come back on that before I move to Chris?
It's his opinion, but I honestly think he's underestimating Conan's skill. Like he got robbed in the amateurs in the Olympics. Everyone knew about that. Lads, even if it comes down to points, he's the one that's selling the show. He's the one that will sell, that'll make people go in and buy seats in Madison Square Garden in New York. Everyone knows who Michael Conlan is because of the Olympics. And now if he gets that belt, he makes a lot of money. I don't think Lee Wood makes that money. I don't think he's that known.
No,
it's 10,000 in Nottingham. It's 10,000 in the arena, lads, for the world title.
No, you said Conlan wins. How does he win in your view, Niall? How does he win? Points or does he stop him?
I only thought today he could stop him, but I doubt he will stop him, and that's only because I listened to what Ben Davison had to say. That either one could win by either way, but I would be more confident in the points. I don't think he's going to go anywhere near Lee Wood. I don't think it'd be very smart to do that. Because look, he's a big lad at that weight. If he does hit him, Conlan seems solid enough. He looks like he has a good old chin on him. He's been in wars, likes getting in the inside, fighting in the inside. Even when he was an amateur, he liked going toe to toe, just having a fight. But I think it'll be on points. I don't think he'll go anywhere near him. I think Adam Booth will come up with a master plan, and it will look like world class. I think you'll see the real Michael Conlan on Saturday.
Fair enough.
I think he'll be on points. I don't think he'll win by knockout.
Right, fair enough. Chris, over to you. Break it down for us.
Break it down, right. It's an interesting one, isn't it, this one? Because it's boxer versus fighter, really. That's the way that they're kind of filling it, you know. When you look at Lee Wood, he's won all his titles. He's won by knockout. So I think we've got to assume that he is a puncher here. But, you know, as Niall said there, when you look at Conlan's amateur record, you know, He won Commonwealth gold medal. He won World gold medal, European. So he's got that pedigree to break, I think, Wood down. I've thought from when this fight was announced, it was never going to be an easy fight. But in your head, you can always see how fights are won. And for me, I can see Conlan just being so slick with the jab and the movement that he's got to actually not necessarily befuddle Wood, but really outbox him. I think Wood, and I've said this before, punches in he seems to punch in limited amounts. He'll punch in a 1-2, then step away, punch 1-2 again, and he almost punches in a kind of, when he's in a rhythm, there's no more than 2 or 3 punches come out at any one stage. So for me, when he's punching like that, I think it'd be quite easy for Conlan to counter him, because he'll be able to guess when he's actually going to stop that kind of 1-2, 1-2. And I think for me, even though Wood is a heavy hitter, he's also reasonably slow with his punches. You can actually see them coming. And even seen him working on the body with Ben Davidson. They were doing some release, which they did last week, where he was doing a jab to the head and a right to the body or whatever. Again, it looked reasonably slow coming through. So for me, I think if Conlan gives him angles with his amateur pedigree, his footwork, he should be able to box him quite handily. The thing is, if Conlan does leave that chin exposed, as Andy said, he slows down at times, will Wood actually be able to get to him and start to put the pressure on him in the later rounds? One thing I kind of disagree with Andy, that Conlan, really slows down, because I think when we look at the last round against Jason Cunningham, the both of them were having a tear up in that last round, and they showed that they had the stamina. But for me, I think it'll be a really tough fight. I think it'll be close in terms of each individual round, but I expect Conlan to kind of come away with like a 116, 112 points win, and get his hand raised at the end of it. But, if Woods tagged him in the 12th round, as he's been promising, wouldn't be a surprise either. But I think the other thing we've got to remember is, we've been talking about Lee Wood. He's never been in this situation. He won his world title behind closed doors. But I actually think he'll thrive when he walks out on Saturday night. And I think he'll absorb it, and he'll look around and say, these guys are here for me. And while Niall said, he's not necessarily a star, I think because his big performances were behind closed doors, he's not had the chance to become a star yet. So, this could be a breakout night for either of them. But for me, I can't see any way past Conlan winning. That it's Conlan wins every way that I look at this fight.
So you can't come up with any scenario where Wood takes it then, Chris?
If Conlan tires, because I suppose if we're being subjective on it, what we've got is Conlan maybe thinking this is easy, and if we think maybe how Tony Bellew boxed Alexander Usyk for the first maybe 6 rounds, Bellew got overeager and he started to try and think, I'm going to do this here, I'm going to beat Alexander Usyk. If Conlan does something similar to that and keeps the pace, thinking he can maybe stop Lee Wood, I don't think Lee Wood's got an engine which will burn out. So maybe if Conlan actually fights the wrong fight because he gets sucked into Lee Wood's fight, I think Conlan will actually set the pace in this fight, not Lee Wood. But so I don't necessarily see Conlan burning out. But if he does get overexcited, overeager, then you could potentially see something like Conlan, beginning to falter, as Andy maybe said, 11th round, 12th round. So, there is a way you could see Wood winning. But for me, I can't see past Conlan, and it's always been that way for me in this fight.
So in the sidebar, Joe says Wood will try and counter Conlan's in and out style. Not sure Conlan it's hard enough to stop Wood. Probably be a close decision. Who wins is not really bothered, so he's clearly not a Wood or Conlan fan. It goes on to say, does Conlan have the same biscuit ribs? I've not heard that phrase before. Does Conlan have the same biscuit ribs as Jamie, and should Wood target the body to find out?
But you talk about the ribs for Jamie, you know what I mean, against that wee guy Nelson. He kept getting up every time he got hit to the ribs, didn't he? So, Conlan was a fighter, Jamie Conlan. So, But in terms of, punch style, does it matter if you don't hit hard in boxing? Because it's all about timing sometimes, and if you can time something right, then you'll feel it.
It matters if you don't hit hard, if you can't keep the fighter off, Chris.
I think if we never seen Michael Conlan at the level he's been at, then I might be worried about that, Andy. But I think he's, he has had 8 knockouts in his 16 fights, and while he's not a one-punch knockout artist, I think he punches enough to keep someone honest.
So Michael says he thinks Wood stops Conlan round 9. Wood has the power to stop Conlan. So,
Carl, I just want to touch on on what Niall said about Conlan being the big name and no one knowing who Lee Wood is. I agree with him that outside of the UK, especially in America, New York, Conlan's a bigger name because of the Irish contingent in New York. But be under no illusion with this that Lee Wood on his own could have sold the arena out twice for this fight. There's been that many tickets on demand. The guy that sells the tickets for Lee Wood has had to turn thousands and thousands and thousands away.
How do you know that?
Enough tickets.
How do you know that, Andy?
How do you know that, Cole?
Well, lads, 4 or 5 weeks ago, you were saying that they were struggling to sell tickets on the Irish side, and Eddie Hearn just said it quite clearly. There's going to be a lot of Nottingham fans going to be here. There's a huge amount of Irish. He said, a huge amount.
Yeah, there's 2,000 Irish. It's about 2,000 Irish. Lee Wood sold 6,000 tickets on his own.
But do you know something? Even if it wasn't a bigger arena like the MEN, it doesn't matter. I think with the Nottingham arena only holding what it does, I think it'll make the atmosphere better because it's going to be fever pitch in there on Saturday night.
Yeah, no. What I would say,
my whole point of saying that about Lee Wood not being the star, I'm talking about moneymaker when it comes to selling arenas out, and you bring him back over here with a belt. There'll be 20,000 in what's called in Falls Park in the summer if he comes back with a belt.
And it would be in the City Ground.
I don't know about that, lads, and that's being honest because you haven't seen it yet. I don't think many people. He's at the jumping straight to that belt. He lost to Jazz Dickens three fights ago, lads. You know what I mean?
What's Conlan's biggest game?
Is not at world level.
I don't think it matters about the gate here. I think it's just a damn
But the way I say it, the reason I want to say that is because if it comes to having dodgy judges and a certain people influencing it, they would want Conlan to win it more than Lee Wood because he will make more money. That's what I'm talking about, lads. So that's the only reason I mentioned him being a what's called thing, especially when you look back at the Taylor and Catrall incident there 2 weeks ago. Like that's the only reason I'm mentioning that.
Yeah, I think the British Boxing Board of Control, they know they can't afford another.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, maybe the spotlight is on them now that they can't be doing this. But there's certain judges that I know when I look at on scorecards, and I know if the home fighter if it's not going his way, or the big fighter, the big name man, if it's not going his way, that judge is going to make it go his way, or the referee is going to make it go his way.
I thought Conlan looked nervous today, Niall. I thought he was using a lot of nervous energy up. You might call it switched on. I would call it burning nervous energy.
Lads, I think he's buzzing. He's there for a fight, lads. He's not there for just a chit chat. He's there to fight.
I think it's all down to perception, isn't it?
It is. You can make a balanced case for either. So us five have talked. Carol, what about you? How do you actually see the fight go? And break it down for us then.
Yeah, I'll stick to what I've said. I think Conlan's a quality fighter, but I'll stick to what I've said round 7. I've said it since the beginning. I think Conlan will go off like a rocket. I think he'll, like Andy says, he'll dance around and put on a nice show for the first 5 rounds. But Lee Wood's going to catch him. And he's going to slow him down, and he'll break him up round 6 and then finish him round 7.
So the big fights that we like if Lee Wood can't, has he got the ability to change his game plan halfway through the fight?
I don't think he'll need to, because I think Conlan hasn't got the power to keep Lee Wood off. That's my honest opinion. I think Lee Wood would cut the ring off and start to break Conlan up.
But does he have, and again, just try to be devil's advocate rather than try to play out how the fight will go, does Wood have the ability to cut the ring off against someone who's quite a swift mover? Because in amateur boxing, as you know, you're an ex-amateur fighter.
I obviously think so. I won't predict it. What I'm saying is a lot of people are sleeping on Lee Wood. He's done it the hard way. He's come up from small hall. He wasn't meant to win the British title against Mould. He wasn't meant to win the world title against Zhu Khan, and now he's being written off again. So carry on writing him off because, I know the bookies have got Conlan as a favourite. Happy days.
The odds are coming down, though, and it's a narrow favourite now, really.
Well, take from that what you will, then. Take from that what you will.
But I think that's to do with, as a fight gets closer, you can look at the two of them, and Wood is a big guy, isn't he? He looks physically bigger than Conlan when you look at them. I think hometown advantage, people will look at that, and I think that's always reflected in the betting.
I'll be honest, I quite like Mickey Conlan's personality. I think he's good for boxing. His cheeky smile and he had a bit of a crack with Lee Wood in the press conferences. I've got nothing but respect what he's achieved in the game. Boxing's about opinions. Niall thinks that Conlan's going to win. I think that Lee Wood's going to win. We'll find out on the night, won't we?
I'll be there in a minute. Someone will be right.
Guys, just coming off of the subject very slightly. Eddie Hearn was hoping that the super belt, the WBA super belt, was also going to be on the line. He was hoping that Leo Santa Cruz was going to get stripped. I think it's an absolute travesty that that's not happening. Leo Santa Cruz last defended the WBA super featherweight title in February 2019. We're talking just over 3 years without defending a title. How can that possibly be the case? 1,117 days he's not defended that title.
You're bang on, Andy. You know what I mean? It's a fight that deserves it, because you look at what the WBA said. They were going to clean up their interim situation. Conlan won the interim belt, which is why he's getting this fight for the regular.
Yeah.
Leo's been so inactive. There's no reason that this fight shouldn't be for the super belt, which would be the recognised belt for the WBA. I kept waiting for them to announce it, and they just haven't, so maybe tomorrow we might get a surprise at the weigh-in, but
I don't think it's going to happen, mate. This is down to the WBA. They've allowed Santa Cruz to go up and fight twice at different weights, and not done anything about it. He showed no intention of defending this title in the 3 years. Yeah. He's not even tried to make a fight at this title in 3 years. I don't understand the mentality, and the roll-on effect to this is this fight should lead into a mega fight against the winner of Martinez and Warrington.
You mean Warrington?
Well, okay, Warrington, but it should be a mega fight, a unification fight. But the way the IBF felt last time, Warrington wasn't allowed to fight Zucan, if you remember, for the WBA regular, because the IBF said they recognise it as a world title. Yeah. So they weren't prepared to put the unification on. So that scenario could happen again, and we could end up missing out on a big fight just because the WBA have not got the house in order.
Mm. We've seen it from them time and time again, and it sucks, because this fight is a proper, true world title fight, really, and it deserved the billing that it got, yeah. I think the other interesting one that now comes back into the mix, if we're going off tangent, that knockout which Lara had last week, that was frightening. Would you put any of the guys in, the winners in? Would you put Warrington in again for the third time with him?
He even waved the referee over, didn't he, Chris?
Honestly, he knew the minute that landed. The way the boy fell. Have you ever seen a guy fall like that for a long time? George Groves maybe was one of the last times, if we're talking Nottingham fighters, you seen a fighter fall like that, or with his back leg under there. But no, Lara's a force to be reckoned with in the game now, isn't he? Certainly at this rate.
Chris, according to Eddie Hearn, I saw an interview with Eddie Hearn earlier today. He's saying that Warrington, if Warrington wins the title in a couple of weeks' time, he's saying that Warrington wants the third fight with Lara.
I can understand why. He's got to get that demon out of it. He's got to just right that wrong answer.
Yeah, totally. Because Warrington knows he can handle Kiko because he's done it before.
Yeah.
And I think that was all about what the punch resistance of Kid Galahad was gone because of the weight. I think really everybody can see that, but Kiko still had to take him out, But every time Josh Warrington closes his eyes, I think he still sees Lara, doesn't he? So He really has to do it. And the second fight was just shaping up nicely as well at Headingley. So, I could understand why Josh wants that. But if I was his dad, Sean O'Hagan, I would keep him as far away from Lara as possible.
Quite clearly as well. I mean, you watched the last fight with Lara. He looked like he was out. He looked like he was done. Quite clearly, he carries that power to the very last bell. And that's scary at any weight.
Yeah, it is. It's unusual to get someone that punches that big, and he just looks like he can take you out. He just looks heavy with every shot, Yeah,
he does.
So finally, Andy, we're going to cover Conor Benn and that great announcement that they've just come out with.
Yeah, go ahead, Cole.
So it's been announced that Conor Benn's going to fight the South African superstar that we've all heard of, Chris Van Heerden. So I'd just like to get your thoughts on, when are they going to step Conor Benn up? This is his 21st fight. What is he going to learn from this fight? Nothing. People on Twitter are telling me that the South African superstar had been in with Boots Ennis and who was it who beat Brook? His name escapes me. Bence. So obviously he must be a superstar. He's been in with them too. It was in with Errol Spence in 2015. So, yeah, I'll let you go, Andy, because you're a Ben fanboy, aren't you? Sell it to me, Andy. Sell it to me how this is going to develop him.
I can't sell it to you, mate, because it's a poor effort, isn't it? I am a Ben fan. I'm a Ben fan. I think he's come on in leaps and bounds, but I agree with you, Carl. They need to step him up to the next level, and this isn't the next level. Has it been difficult behind the scenes? Have they struggled to get an opponent at that next level for Ben? Are people not wanting to fight him? I don't know, is the answer. But in my opinion, if you look at the rankings, I know rankings don't mean that much, but if you look at the rankings, Ben is in the top 10 in all of the divisions, I think, maybe bar one. If that's the case, then what should be happening now is he should be fighting at top 10 welterweight, not people in the top 100. He should be fighting somebody in the top 10. That needs to be his next move. I want to defend him because I think he's done brilliant. I think the way they've brought him through, considering his lack of amateur experience, as I keep on going on about, considering the name he's got to carry around with him. What I like the most is I like his aggression. I like his style. I like the fact that he goes in there to have a brawl, which eventually could end up causing problems for him. He could end up getting knocked out because of it. But that's the exciting thing. He gets you on the edge of your seat because you never know what's going to happen. Exactly like his dad. You never knew what was going to happen.
Niall, what do you think of Conor Benn?
I agree with you. He does need a stepping up, but I think he has been gradually being stepped up, like a lot different to anyone else now. But I think they have been slowly progressing him. But you've been seeing massive improvements. So I think he's been very good in his last few fights. He's getting better for each one. But I don't know why. I can't see why they wouldn't step him up. I reckon they must be having problems with opponents because I don't know who this guy is. I've never heard of him before, to be honest. Chris Van Heerden, I don't know who he is. Okay. So I can't really say much about this, but yeah, they probably do need to get someone else.
I know quite a bit about Chris Van Heerden, actually. He's a very, very interesting fighter. He's obviously South African. And he held the lightly regarded IBO title for a while, and the IBO was quite big over in South Africa, for quite a number of years. And Van Heerden won it there, defended it a few times, and decided to move over to Santa Monica and moved over to LA to try and further his career. Was at the wild card and has been training now for a few years. And you know what? It backfired on him, Carol, because he was actually a star in his own country in South Africa because there wasn't any boxing names there. And then he went over into US and he was just one of many. And it kind of backfired. Then he did get a couple of big fights. He got them at short notice, as we said, against Spence. And he was actually, beaten quite handily. Then he fought Boots. That was a no contest because of a massive gash over Van Herden. But the one thing is, he keeps himself in the gym all the time. You know, he's probably a better fighter at this stage of Van Herden's career than Chris Algieri was. You know, I think there's a couple of things which are driving Van Herden at the moment. His dad, weirdly, was actually shot, dead, murdered last year. So that's been driving him forward to try and go for a big fight. So this fight was mooted in December last year. And at the time, having followed Van Herden's career for a while, I thought, yeah, I can see why they're doing it. But then after Ben wiped the floor with Algieri, I kind of thought, no, it's a step back now. It's a kind of sideways move for him to take this fight. So, you know, while at one point I thought it was a decent fight, I think Van Herden's just been a little bit too inactive. It feels very much like Samuel Vargas, Chris Algieri again. You know, it feels more of the same for Conor Benn. It's not a step up. It feels like they're marking time for him, trying to build a name, because they're now putting this one on at the MEN or the Arena in Manchester, as it's known. So I can actually see them this is just to build him again. And I think they're looking for him to do exactly what he did against Algieri and build that name again. So it feels like quite an insincere, hollow fight, actually.
Yeah. So Gary in the sidebar says, I find it strange they're asking for fights with Brook and Eubank, etc., but then avoid Ebenezian. And he put Van Eden was meant to fight Frankie Gavin a good while back. So Sean, what do you think about this announcement?
Yeah, like you say, it's not that inspiring. I mean, there are big fights out there. Look at Mickinson, he's fighting Virgil Ortiz. So there are big fights out there, but are they trying to build him into a pay-per-view star, maybe, saying that he's beat ex-world champions, big names? I don't know, but for me, he needs to fight at fringe world level now if he has ambitions to win world titles. Because as I say, Mickinson's fighting Ortiz, but surely Conor Benn could have took that fight if he really backed himself.
Yeah. Ben?
I would like to see him fight Avanesian or someone like that, or even the fighter who fought Furman in his last fight. Was it Barrios?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think that'll be a good fight for him, but he's mixing it at kind of the same level. But the thing is, he's keeping himself active, which is a good thing, and lining it up for next. He's going to fight. He's got to fight a bigger step up in the next one, but it's hard to match him at the same time. So it's one of them things. But I do want to see him towards the end of this year in with like a top 5 welterweight.
Yeah. So Joe in the sidebar said Ben needs to be stepped up. Banging out limited and shot fighters will do nothing for him when he does fight someone proper. Gary says, I think Eddie is cautious and protecting him whilst trying to make him out to be a killer.
Here's the thing. The welterweight division is full of fighters that won't fight each other. It's a great division. There's some great fighters in there, but they won't fight each other. Ortiz, the only reason Ortiz is fighting Mickinson is because he should be fighting Ebenezian for a final eliminator. He just don't want the fight. He didn't want the fight. And neither did Boots Ennis.
It wasn't a great look though, Andy, was it, when he come out that Conor Benn turned down the Ebenezian fight for a shed load of money? That was not a great look, was it? When he walked around saying, I just want a war, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, but how much of that is Conor Benn turning it down, or how much of it is his team turning it down?
Well,
I'm not convinced.
I don't want to quote Mr. Diaz to you, Andy, again, but what did Roberto Diaz tell us?
No, yeah, but that's not true, Carl, anymore.
Mm.
If a fighter wants it bad enough and there's enough money...
No. Yeah, but we've also got we've got to think of that matchroom stable at the moment. They need to build it back up, don't they?
When is he going to jump in with a live opponent then? This is his 21st fight. Give me a prediction, Andy.
I agree with you. I'm not doubting what you're saying, but of all the fighters in that division, the last person Eddie Hearn wants him to go in with is David Avanesian.
So when did he jump in? When do you predict he's going to jump in with at least a fringe world level fighter? I'll take all your numbers.
He should have done it. You're talking like I'm not agreeing with you.
No, I'm just asking for a prediction. When do you reckon it'll be? Next fight? Fight after?
It should have been this fight, Carl. I'm agreeing with you, mate.
I know, but I'm saying when do you think it'll be? You can agree with me, but when put your promoters hat on. When do you think it'll be? Because he's protected.
I don't know when it's going to be, do I? Because I'm not Eddie Hearn.
Well, he's protected. Is he going to
David Evanesian?
because it's the golden boy. It's Matchroom's golden boy.
The problem is,
I think you've got more chance of him fighting Kell Brook next than you have of anybody else.
Yeah.
who cares about that fight? Who cares about that fight?
Exactly. No one cares about it because everybody
Well,
thinks
well,
Brook should be resigning. Brook should be walking into the sunset with his pockets filled after the can fight, you know. But you can see them going that way, you know, both sides talking about it. You know,
The problem is, Chris, that people start to lose interest if he's not stepped up soon.
well,
Brit-
I think
We're not mugs, are we?
no, and that's the thing. You can only fool the people some of the time, you know. And I think with Conor Benn, you know, while I think this fight will sell out because people are enjoying watching his career, it's not an exciting fight. It's not a great fight at all.
Joe makes a good point in the sidebar. When there's a vacant belt, that's when he'll step up. I agree. I think that's what they're waiting for.
But then again, you know, we're talking about him and saying he's got to step up. You know, we're complimenting him in a way. You know, we're saying that he's improved, he's got better, and we're ready to see him go there. So, you know, we weren't saying that 5-6 fights ago.
How far away from the champions do you think he is now?
Say again, Ben.
How far away do you think he is from challenging for a title?
Well, who knows? Because he hadn't jumped in with anyone.
But you could look at the title as Ben, and even just going through the top 5. Would you put him in with Crawford just now? You wouldn't. You know, Diaz, you wouldn't. You know, Keith Thurman, maybe you might think about that. You know, because I think Thurman's not been as great since he came back. You know, then you're looking at Virgil Ortiz Jr., Kell Brook, Mikey Garcia. You know, Garcia's quite a small guy for welterweight. You know, maybe you take a punt and try and go there.
I would go Thurman or Danny.
What was the second one, Andy? You broke up there.
Thurman or Danny Garcia.
He doesn't beat either.
Gary
No,
in the
he beats
sidebar
Thurman.
said a good fight.
Lads, I think he needs one more step before them. You put him in with them, he's going to get killed.
Yeah, I agree. No.
Being honest with you, lads, I wouldn't put him in with David Avanessia. That's the same way he done. I'm pretty sure, did he fight Josh Kelly?
Yeah,
it was him that fucked up Josh Kelly. Excuse me, language.
Yeah.
I wouldn't put him in with him. I'd be afraid of doing that, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, we'll see where it goes, but it's not an inspiring fight, and it's not a great choice, and it smells of just getting a few pounds at the box office, this one.
What about the Spanish guy who beat Mikey Garcia, Sandor Martin?
Yeah, he'd be a good one, isn't he? Because he's not a massive puncher, you know, and again, one would assume that he's got a contract with his own, so you would have thought that would have been a really easy fight to make, wouldn't you, Ben?
Yeah, makes sense, that one, definitely.
Yeah.
So Gary in the sidebar says Josh Kelly versus Ben is a good fight, but Josh probably don't do 147.
Plus, they're now signed to different promoters. Kelly's with Probellum now, who obviously today announced that deal with Discovery Channel. You know, which is, I've seen a few people slagging that deal off on Twitter, but you know, Discovery Channel's got a worldwide reach at the moment. It's 22 million.
It's Eurosport as well, so it's free in Ireland.
I think it's actually a really, because they're building a global stable. So if you've got 22 million currently across the globe on Discovery Plus, that's a really decent deal.
I tell you what could be a real left field shout for Conor Benn. Something I've been thinking anyway. I think they might lure Manny Pacquiao back in and sort of build it as a massive pay-per-view fight over here.
No.
I think Manny's done, really.
This is the problem, isn't it? It's okay having the names, Sean. It's okay having the names on your record, like you've just said, Pacquiao or Kell Brook. But in reality, those fighters are way, way, way past the best. Way, way, way past the best. He needs to be fighting a top 10 fighter. Mickinson's not been
I agree.
in with a world class fighter because he knows he understands the risk. But imagine the reward if he beats Ortiz.
I just think with the way the zone's going,
even a Marku. I don't rate Marku, but put him in with Marku. That's a big fight.
Yeah.
What was that last comment you made, Sean, there?
I think, you know, there's a lot of speculation about DAZN, isn't there? They're hemorrhaging money. They're not really progressing as they thought they would, in the UK at least. I think I wouldn't be surprised to see something like that just to get their subscribers back up, really. I mean, that's purely what it will be for.
Yeah. Well, they've snagged Canelo again, really, haven't they? And, that's really for the American market and the worldwide market, So, does that come at a cost for them again?
Yeah.
So while we're talking about the welterweight division, Amir Khan's triggered the rematch clause to fight Conor.
Has he, or has his missus done it so she can buy some more shoes?
Well, quite clearly, lads. Come on, let's open this up.
Andy, didn't I predict this? Andy, didn't I predict this? That this would happen?
You did. Quite clearly, he's got absolutely no interest in fighting Kell Brook again.
No.
He's wanting someone like Eddie Hearn to come in and give him a shed load of money to step aside. He won't fight again. He's got no interest in fighting again. He's got nothing left. He just thinks because he signed this deal and it had a rematch clause in it that he can trigger that clause and somebody is going to come along and say, well, we want to fight Kell Brook next. So here's $5 million. Here's stupid money to step aside so we can fight Kell Brook. It's not going to happen.
Once a fighter's heart's gone, it's gone. It can't.
I've been doing it on it together with Kell Brook walking around going, I've got my mojo back. I've got my mojo back. Come on. There was just two shot fighters. Just that one was more shot than the other.
But, who would buy it, though, if it came around? We've seen a definitive fight first time around. We don't need to see that again. And if they did it, who the hell would buy it? Who would want
Ben would buy it, wouldn't you, Ben? Come on, Ben, you would buy it, wouldn't you? I can tell by the smile.
No, I don't want to see it again, to be honest, though, but I do like watching Brook. And I think if Khan was to fight him again, he'll do what he did the first time, where he made him cut the weight and make all these stupid demands. That's what he's going to try and do if he did fight him, but can't see it happening, to be honest.
Well, I doubt Khan's the A side this time going in, is it? I'd imagine Brook's the one with all the pull.
I bet you in the contracts negotiations, so I bet they had it that Khan was still the A side for the money for the rematch as well. So could they call it? I could see them actually doing it, but one thing we've got to remember is Khan effectively quit against Terence Crawford. He was absolutely outgunned against a faded Kell Brook. The boy has no place in the ring again.
No, he doesn't.
And lads, if you look at him at the end of that fight against Kell Brook, like he even knows it himself. When the referee stopped, he agreed with the referee. Like, lads, he knows he's finished. I wouldn't say Kell Brook is shot now, but or if I was Amir Khan, I'd be looking for that money as well now, in fairness. And I wouldn't be surprised if he does take the fight, if they push through with it, and he'll go in there, he'll fight 2 or 3 rounds, and he'll get hit with a shot, and he'll go down on his knees, lads, and he won't get back up.
The truth is, Niall, we don't really know what Brook's got left because Khan didn't put it on him or anything, did it?
No, he didn't look like he was bothered at all. He looked like he was in there, get a few quid, and that's why he agreed with the referee. He was like, "Yeah, I'm finished." It was like a kind of feeler to see, has he still got the love for the sport? And he just said no.
It reminded me of Ricky Hatton, when he jumped in with that Russian and he didn't have nothing left either. He kind of had to do it to find out if he had anything left.
Yeah. And the last thing you want to see is your heroes getting stopped. Remember Nigel Benn against Steve Collins that second time around, quitting on his stool. Broke my heart, But I'll give you a reason why Khan might trigger the rematch clause. He's got a building which is building in Bolton, which is going to be an exhibition centre and a wedding venue, and he's hemorrhaging money on it. He's lost something like 11 million quid on it so far. And, he needs money back because of what's happened at that project.
I hope this is all in the public domain, Christopher, or am I going to have to use the word allegedly?
No, you can Google it. Just Google Amir Khan's wedding venue.
He does. He spends a lot of money, lads. Like, he has houses in Dubai and all. Like, he only bought a brand new Lamborghini there a couple of days ago. Lads, he spends a lot of money. I'm surprised he doesn't run out. He must have businesses or investments and things like that, because he's not just getting this money solely from boxing. He spends a lot of money.
He spends a lot of money, and when he fought Billy Dib over in Dubai, he got like $6 million for that. But as I say, if you look at what he's done, he's had a lot of money pumped into him from Dubai for the WBC Middle East project he's got there. But cash-wise himself, and as I say, just Google it, you'll see it. It comes up. and he's actually spent a hell of a lot of money on something that isn't even finished yet. And they've said 11 million. He needs money.
Chris, at the very top of this segment, you jokingly said, "Who's driving this? His missus and his dad." You know what? I don't think you're far off.
Absolutely not. I was tongue in cheek, but I genuinely think it is. His missus is fame hungry. He's got a massive family there, which all live off Amir Khan. You know, they only live about 15 miles down the road from me. You know, and they're very prominent in the local area. You know, they all live off Amir Khan's name, Andy. It's insane.
Yeah.
Right, Andy, let's bring it to a close. Quick thank you from me. Niall, cheers for joining, fella. I hope you join us on Sunday night, Niall, after the fight.
Yeah. You're going for the fight, are you?
We are, yep.
Well, just make sure you're in your seats for when Conlan's walking out, because, lads, it's special. Seriously.
Yeah,
you just don't want to miss it.
Yeah, it was a special atmosphere, honestly. So may the best man win and all that, Niall. We'll end on some pleasantries.
Enjoy the night, lads.
Cheers. Ben, cheers for joining, fella.
Cheers, mate.
Hope to see you on again soon, as well as Niall. Sean, cheers for joining.
Cheers, lads.
Thank you to everyone in Sidebar. Thank you, Christopher. We'll see you down in Nottingham on Saturday.
Yeah, I'll see you there. They just announced, actually, in the last half hour when the fight's happening, 10:30.
10:30.
10:30.
We'd have had some lubrication by then, but that's another story. And I'll leave it for you to take us out.
Well, as Carl's just mentioned, we're doing a post-fight show Sunday afternoon at some point when we've kind of sobered up and got our heads together. One way or the other, we're either going to be celebrating or we're not. But please come and join us, everybody that's been on tonight, everyone in this side. Thanks a lot for your comments. Niall, get yourself on Sunday night, fella. Once again, thanks a lot, guys. All the input's been brilliant, Sidebar. Thanks for joining us on screen. I'll see you on Sunday night.
Come on, boys.